Africa Table ist das einzige deutschsprachige Medium, das sich ausschließlich mit Afrika beschäftigt. Und das Motto der Redaktion lautet: Wer Afrika verstehen will, muss mit Afrika reden und vor allem auch zuhören. Und Redaktionsleiter ist ein Mann, der Afrika besonders gut kennt, denn er war viele Jahre Ostafrika-Korrespondent in Nairobi in Kenia und leitet jetzt die Redaktion und wird auch diese Panel-Diskussion moderieren. Ich freue mich sehr auf David Rentke. Wo ist er? Da ist er.
Dankeschön. Thank you very much. We will continue in English this time. I would like to welcome all panelists on stage. So, what we've heard so far, a word that stood out so far was the word potential. And I think we need one more chair. But I think we'll figure it out. So I guess to not lose any time, just maybe just we just start. We get right into it. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you. We have a guest from Senegal, Mohamed Niang. You're the Senior Technical Advisor at the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. You will let us more about the opportunities that Senegal offers for German SMEs. I also like to welcome Petra Warnecke. You're the head of Africa division at the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, or short GIZ. I would also like to welcome Edna Schöne. You're executive board member at Euler Hermes, specializing in export credit insurance. And last but not least, we do have an entrepreneur as well who's already engaged in Africa. You're the managing director of SA Malereiunternehmen GmbH. You're a specialist in painting, renovation, refurbishment, and I'm very interested to hear about your expertise or your experiences in Africa. But at the beginning, first, I would like to hear about Mr. Niang. We have already heard from the State Secretary, Mr. Flaspa, the global situation at the moment. It's been a week since Liberation Day. It's been a week since the tariffs are in place. Senegal, I think, has 20%, 10%. So you're lucky. How is your view, the view from the African continent on the situation that is currently going on? Do you look at it perhaps? Or do you see any potential in the upheaval that is going on right now?
Yes, thank you very much. The global landscape has been evolving quite rapidly and sometimes worryingly. The Trump effect is touching everybody, friends and foes alike. And growing inflation, protectionism, the reshoring of industries is certainly going to alter global supply chains, and this is a big risk for business all over the world. It is a big risk, but it is also an opportunity, because as we've seen in Africa, some countries have been increasingly diversifying partnerships. Traditionally, the traditional powers that were there are now replaced by others. It's not only China and America that are interested in what Africa has to offer. We have other powers such as Turkey, India, and the emerging BRICS that are there. So for us, this is a risk, but it's also, we have to see it as an opportunity to diversify partnerships. This is also an opportunity for us for resource sovereignty, to transform local resources, to get more value added in our product. And we see it now in mining. We have seen what's happening in Mali with the lithium, in other countries. In Senegal, we aspire to put industrial platform all over the country. And we have here the director of Aposi, who's going to be intervening later. And that's the backbone of our industrial policy, to put industrial parks all over the country and be able to transform local resources that we have and turn these risks into opportunities. Strategic positioning is also quite important because now countries that are embedded in a solid regional framework such as ECOWAS or the African trade, they're able to leverage their position and attract long-term investments. So this situation is a risky situation, it's a dangerous situation, but we have no choice as to see it as an opportunity and to take advantage of that opportunity.
Perhaps, Mrs. Schöne, on your LinkedIn profile, you said you're, how do you say, you have a passion for German exports. With the situation at the moment, what are your feelings, and especially when you look at trade between Germany and Africa, how will that affect the trade?
Yes, well, picking up what you've just said and what also Mr. Flassbart was saying, I think we should look at the African continent as a business opportunity, especially for the German Mittelstand. While the situation right now is a little bit unclear, I think in the last years and months we've seen some growth picking up there. So I think there are really some good opportunities. If I look at our portfolio, we are supporting German exporters to many countries all over the world. The African continent, the portion in our portfolio has been growing over the last 10 years. So while it's quite volatile, you would see typically around, I would say, 15 to even 25% of our portfolio going to African countries. We've seen large infrastructure projects in Egypt, in Angola. These are, I would say, our two top countries. But if I look at more the markets for SMEs, I think we should definitely have a look at the medium-sized economies such as Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, which are really going well right now with impressive growth rates. I think that's what Mr. Flassbart hinted at as well. Growth rates that are even beyond 6% in some cases. So I think that's definitely an opportunity. We have countries that have undergone a debt crisis, sovereign debt crisis, such as Ghana, also Senegal, which are showing really signs of recovery right now. So it's worthwhile to really have a look at that. Of course, we have, I would say, the big countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, which have quite a slow growth right now, but still remain important just because of their mere size, right? So I think also there it's important to continue to have a look. Yes, I think German export is definitely underrepresented in Africa. I think that's also already a sign that there must be more opportunities out there. And one reason, of course, is that the manufacturing business in Africa is still on its way. It's still growing, and that's a typical target, of course, for the mechanical engineering that you would see often from Germany. So I think there's potential there. And lastly, what sectors do we see right now in our portfolio? We see, I would say, agriculture quite a lot. You would typically see packaging industry. We also see quite some demand in Africa for renewable energies, solar. I think Senegal is also an example for that, but also health industry, hospitals being constructed, etc. So there are quite a diversity of sectors in those countries where we see an increasing demand. So I think there are definitely opportunities to look at, and of course still you need to have a look at the risks. But that's one reason why we are here. As Euler Hermes, we of course have an eye on the risk side as well and supporting German exporters on that side.
I guess we'll come back to the exact the exact details on how your cover works. But before we get more in the details, I just want to include you as well, Ms. Warnecke, GIZ. I guess the other big topic that we are talking right now in the last weeks or the last years, also the future of development funding, looking at the US, but also here in Germany or in Europe in general. Perhaps you could give us some more details on what GIZ does, especially to support German SMEs who would like to invest in Africa or to start trading in Africa.
Okay, well, the German government has a lot of programs and initiatives, and the goal is to support German companies in Africa and to facilitate investments and to promote economic growth. And to support this, GIZ is implementing some of these programs. And to let me name some of them. One is TVET, and TVET is very well known as very successful, and you can compare it with a German dual vocational training. And it's, we use it very often, and it's really helpful. And another one is Develop PPP, and Develop PPP is a funding program which promotes technical and financial support of up to 2 million euro for sustainable projects. And for example, BioNTech used Develop PPP to establish Africa's first vaccine production facility in Rwanda. Another one is called skilled worker migration. And its goal is to make it possible for skilled migrations to enter the Germany's labor market. And BVMW helped facilitate the access through qualification measures, recognition of qualifications, and language training. And by the way, Senegal this program is also in place. And we have other programs, especially from the BMWK. It's called PEP. And this program, PEP, supports investments in companies in the energy sector. And it's especially implemented or organized for entrepreneurs who are interested in investing in developing sustainable energy projects in Africa. It provides advisory services, feasibility studies, and matchmaking with local partners. And it helps secure financing by connecting companies with banks and investors also. And at GIZ, we are very much convinced that the opportunities for the German SMEs increase when the African SMEs are strengthened as well. So one of GIZ's major assets is the presence with national and international staff on the ground in Africa. So we have many years of experience and know the local markets very well. We have an extensive network and direct access to government ministries and entities or agencies at local, regional, and state level. So, and the good news for you is you can make use of it. So we understand potential pitfalls and can put you in touch with reliable business partners. So let's explore together how you can successfully build and grow your business in Africa.
One point that you said was very interesting. I think you also want to help the local SMEs to profit. I think that's also something that you do in Senegal. You have a program to painting skills. Is it called?
Yeah.
And perhaps you can tell us a little more about that program.
Yes, of course. Hear me? Yeah, okay. We started our interest in Africa in 2023 during a delegation trip organized by the BVMW and the GIZ. I think it was a cooperation, and started in Rwanda. And we implemented some kind of workshop to share our knowledge when it comes to painting skills. And last year, we visited Senegal, also organized by or supported by the GIZ and the German embassy. And what we have in mind now is implement a workshop in cooperation with a huge German manufacturer, paint manufacturer. So we have the industry part on board to share our knowledge when it comes to painting skills in theory and, of course, practical knowledge. And with our cooperation partner, that they can train the craftsmen on site using their paint, how to use it, how to prepare surfaces, how to make a long-lasting work on site. And this is what we actually are planning right now, supported by the GIZ and other cooperation partners on site.
When you talk about skilled laborers, it's also a topic that's very pressing here in Germany. We are looking for good, trained, people. Is that also a project for you to look for skilled workers that in the long run might come to work for your company here in Germany?
It works both ways. First of all, yes, of course. As far as I know, the unemployment rate in Senegal is actually quite high. And so, of course, we wish to qualify the craftsmen on site. And if they wish to make the way to Germany, they're welcome to work with us, for us, as trained painters. And on the other way around, it's also for keeping our skilled labor in our company, because when we offer workshops, some of my colleagues are holding those workshops, of course, on site. And so as a handicraft business, we can send our employees to Senegal or to other countries and give them the opportunity to share their knowledge and to gain, of course, experience on site. Because when you do a workshop, let's say in Senegal or elsewhere, you're not a tourist. This is for deeper going into the culture, meeting the people, and this is also employer branding to keep our skilled labor.
Perhaps at that point, I was just wondering, how did you come up with the idea, or where does your motivation come from to say, okay, I want to go to Africa? I think you also have a program in Rwanda.
Yes.
So where does that interest come from? Why did you not decide to go to, for example, Latin America or any other region, or Asia?
Honestly, it just happened. We decided to take part in this delegation trip to Rwanda in 2023 out of curiosity. It was an offering made by the BVMW, and we decided to just take part in the trip and see what was going to happen. And during that trip, we developed the idea of implementing that kind of workshop concept. And it was the same way last year when the BVMW offered the delegation trip to Senegal. So we thought, well, it worked in Rwanda, maybe it works in Senegal as well. And I think it will. We are already planning the workshops. We had very interesting meetings also with Mr. Diop, who's unfortunately not able to be here right now, and all the important people from government and so on. And yeah, that's why we're doing it.
We've heard it already as well. We're waiting for a new government here in Germany. Today probably will be the day. So what we know so far is that the new coalition is trying to put an emphasis on a stronger economic cooperation with Africa. From the African point of view, what would be your wish for the next German government? What be a good way to foster those relationships?
The previous government has done quite some good efforts to enable German SMEs and German companies to start coming to countries like Senegal with investment mechanism and co-financing tools. So we would like the next government to do more, not to do less, to do more, and to enable your companies to really come to Africa. We want them to scale those mechanisms so that we can have great collaboration. We want also them to support industrialization, not just aid, but German engineering is world famous. And we want to benefit from that too. So we want partnerships. We want more partnerships with German companies. And in that same vein, we want to deepen also the training and the dual education, the German model, where people go to not only the theoretical model like the French, but more practical training. So we want to deepen those ties and have more research and development. Why not even co-invest in R&D centers? So that's what we would like the government.
At that point, I also would like to use some time to work on sort of a toolbox on how German SMEs, perhaps I guess there are probably some entrepreneurs here in the room who think about going to Africa. Perhaps you can just talk a little more about, you mentioned a lot of programs. Perhaps can you walk us through how, if I was an entrepreneur, where do I get funding, where do I get information, how do I find the way?
Yeah, okay, but before I come to that, please let me emphasize the underestimated Africa. You mentioned it already. So we see there a growing population is creating a growing demand, and the enhancing of the African trade area is enlarging markets and enables economies of scale. And also the large number of motivated, committed and creative young people are still there. But remember also, Africa is not just one market. There are no less than 54 sales markets in Africa, and every country presents its own opportunities and challenges. And I think in times when the German and European economies are diversifying their value chain and procurement markets, so that's it. African countries will become even more important for partners. So, and a very prominent example for a reliable cooperation between the German government, but also what is for advantage for German SMEs, is the Compact with Africa initiative. So it intends to improve the framework conditions for private investments in reform-oriented African countries. And it is intended to, these reform partner countries have committed themselves to implement market-oriented reforms and facilitating investments. And in my view, these reform partnerships are a promising approach. They follow the principle of encouraging and demanding. And encouraging in a sense that the German government supports the compact countries in creating stable economic environments. And these are environments that creates a favorable business climate and attracts foreign investments. And demanding in the sense that in exchange, African states are required to implement reforms. And these include, for example, economic reforms, increasing trade fairness and fighting corruption. And all of these are meant to establish a secure and stable long-term environment for business and for investments. And the growth figures shows the success of the program. So the economic growth in the compact economies is above average at 4.6%, compared to Africa as a whole at 3.2%. So in short, with this program, the German government creates more stable investment conditions and promotes new business models so that German companies can gain a secure foothold in Africa.
So with the more stable economies and frames, this is also, I guess, important for you or for German importers who want to start trading with the country. You already mentioned the countries that are on the map, the bigger ones, Nigeria, Kenya. You also mentioned Angola. which I thought was quite interesting because it's a country that's not on the top all the time for us. When you look at the last couple of years, do you think, or is there a country that stood out for you, that's sort of a hidden champion on the African continent that's been growing in the past when it comes to German exports?
Well, as I mentioned, Angola is quite prominent, I would say, in our portfolio, and it's not only our portfolio, also a lot of other countries that have export credit agencies, such as Euler Hermes is for Germany. They have quite, I would say, quite a risk on Africa at this point in time. So that's on Angola, sorry. So I think that it's important to also have a look at other countries, as I was mentioning before, the mid-sized countries, which sometimes are forgotten because people are very much talking about Nigeria, South Africa still, but I think there are many other interesting countries to really have a look at. And maybe if I may, you were asking about the toolbox, and I would really like to say a few words on that, because if you are going as an SME to one of the African countries and you are looking out to make business there, definitely Hermes-Bürgschaften, export credit guarantees are a really important part of that toolbox. We are, I would say, maybe one of the most important instruments for foreign trade. We are working for the German government as Euler Hermes, so this is an instrument of the German government to provide the mechanics that you were asking for in order to really push trade to Africa. And what I would like to say is that you probably, when you think about Hermes-Bürgschaften export credit guarantees, you think about, okay, it's a political and economic risk insurance. But you should also think about offering financing to your clients in Africa. And actually there, this instrument can provide you with a very important tool, because we are in a competitive environment. It's not only German companies coming to Senegal or other countries. There are other exporters from other countries as well. And buyers are increasingly expecting that you provide them with financing. This tool can really help SMEs to provide that financing, either because you as an SME will provide some credit payment terms to your buyer. Then you have maybe a liquidity topic. So with this cover, you can go to your bank and forfeit it and actually solve your liquidity problem. You can also involve a bank. And if this bank extends a credit to the buyer, for example, in Senegal, they will be able to provide a more competitive financing because you have the AAA rating of the federal government in your back, basically, and the bank has it in its back. So this is a very important tool, and I can really recommend you to dive into that financing aspect, because many companies are still missing out on that this is a really competitive edge that you can bring with you when you go not only to Africa but also other countries.
Perhaps with a look on the time, could you give us, as you are an entrepreneur, some advice that you've learned that you want to share with anyone who wants to go to Africa or invest in Africa, trade in Africa?
Yes. First of all, be curious. I think that's the most important thing. Use opportunities like the delegation trips offered by BVMW and other organizations to get to know the country, to get into contact with the government, which is very important, and also use corporations. You need a partner on site. You can't do this from Germany alone. You need partners like Invest for Jobs, GIZ, whomever, or companies that are already established in the country you want to work with or you want to work in, because they know governmental regulations, they know a network, they know the mindset on site and whatever. So find cooperation partners in any way and work closely with them. So this is how we do it, and I might say we're quite successful in doing so.
Well, thank you very much for now. I think we I want to hand over to Amadou Gay at the moment, who will give us a... I'm told I'm not going to hand over. So we do have some time, some more time? Some more time. Oh, perfect, perfect. Then we can keep going. You've already mentioned to a certain extent the German manufacturings that we are very proud of. Are there any other businesses, German businesses, that you want to attract, especially in Senegal?
There are plenty, and we have just concluded a new roadmap that we call Senegal Vision 2050. By year 2050, we want to be a fully industrialized country. And we have identified 4 growth areas. The first one is extractive industries. The second one is agriculture and agribusiness. The third one is manufacturing as a whole. And this is where really the German SMEs, I think, have a real chance to make a difference. And then we have high value-added services, technology, smart grids. So we have a variety of areas where if you are a good competitive company with solid fundamentals, you can bring value and make a difference.
You've mentioned the toolbox and the Hermes Bürgschaften cover. When over the last years, have they changed? Have you adapted? Are there any changes that you've made to improve or to modernize that instrument that's actually has quite a tradition?
Oh yeah, thanks for that question. Because we have just launched a really innovative package already with the last government, which is still in place right now in January. So there are some, I would say, really innovative changes made to this instrument to accommodate, I would say, for the competitive situation that all exporting countries are in. One important change is that we do have some requirements on German content to be able to support it, and I would say there is some easing on those requirements, which for many SMEs is very, very important. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we are now able to provide so-called shopping lines for some buyers in other countries in order for them actually to be attracted to buy from Germany. So that's another product which we've just launched. And I would say what is really changing for export credit guarantees is that we are more and more active on the ground in different regions. So, for example, we have a representative, Emilia von Mettenheim. She's in Côte d'Ivoire. She's covering I would say also Senegal, but other countries, and she will go with SMEs to their clients and talk with them about financing opportunities. So we are also on the ground. We're not just sitting in Hamburg waiting for applications. We are really there to support German SMEs to really make business in the different regions of the world, including Africa.
GIZ is also on the ground. Perhaps you could give us an overview on where you are, especially in context to the programs that you already mentioned before.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to mention here and to come. Yeah, in line with Senegal, our project Invest for Jobs, because it's a very famous project, and it's supported also by our organizer here, the BVMW, sorry, who is a quite crucial partner and has a crucial role in this regard. Especially, and the initiative was already mentioned, it's the Task Force Senegal. So the Task Force Senegal brings companies together with African partners, facilitating market entries. And additionally, it organizes delegation trips and network events to maximize opportunities and connecting the German SMEs. So, and with these commitments, it would be much more difficult for many of you to leverage Africa's potential. So in a nutshell, the BVMW serves as an essential bridge between the German entrepreneurs and the African growth market. And with GIZ support, the Task Force Senegal formed an industry cluster in Derby, for example. And Derby is a two-hour drive from the capital city, Dakar. And the companies involved are from very different sectors. For example, KTI Plage that makes refrigeration systems used to cool crops that would otherwise spoil. Or Alga Group, known as commercial vehicle and construction machinery, which is developing the industrial park there. And these firms expect to create up to 500 jobs, good jobs, in the next 5 years there. And several of the companies who are part of these Task Force Senegal are here today. And if you are interested in meeting them or talk to them and share experience, please come to our in the exhibition hall to our Invest for Job booth. It's over there. So to sum up,
I've already seen also the prospects on the chairs around here. With a look at the time, I think we've had a lot of input and a lot of calls to action. I think anyone who's interested in investing in Africa or trading with Africa has got a lot of homework. At that time, I want to hand over back to Madame Papst. Yes, thank you very much to my panel, to all the guests. Thank you for the short but very intensive discussion.
Thank you, David Renke and Africa Tab. And please stay on stage because we are going to take a picture of you.